What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Big Time Football Talk. So, I want to start with this. I want to get into the Titans Ravens game because something really stood out for me in that game, and it's that the Titans and the Ravens really have an identity of who they are as a football team. And I watched that was just a really great game. Those are both playoff caliber teams, and you'll likely see them make the playoffs. Obviously, both have a chance to still win their division, but Baltimore, it's getting a little tougher because the Steelers now at 10-0. But I just want to say, yeah, Baltimore still loves running the ball. I like how they got the ball to J.K. Dobbins more. That's definitely something they needed to do. Dobbins is just a beast and really bulked up at Ohio State and just he told him he wanted more carries and ran with it and did a great job, especially in the first half. And that really got some offense going. It got them that early 21-10 lead that eventually ended up being erased, and the Titans pulled it out in overtime. Had that go ahead touchdown late with A.J. Brown, just a beast of a man, and A.J. Brown had a couple drops though, which is a little concerning, but did an outstanding job of fighting for yards, run after catch. You saw he was in that picture with Metcalf. He's just a physical specimen, a guy that works out a lot, and puts a lot into it in the weight room, and just has been crucial. But yeah, Baltimore, they want to run the ball. They don't want to make a lot of mistakes. They want to get Lamar Jackson involved in the run game. It's just that's the style of football I like. You don't really want to take a lot of risks, but you want to keep some your options open. Give Lamar a chance to run or pass, and keep the defense really guessing and off balance the whole game. That's really their identity, and they've become a lot more of a running team than in years past under John Harbaugh. But John Harbaugh knows that still, even though they've tried to throw it a little more with Lamar Jackson, they're a running team. They have a good defense, a good offensive line. That's really who they are. And, the Titans are like that too. They want to run the ball with Derrick Henry, and they just want to do it. I like how they just stick with it because, like the game-winning touchdown he had, I forget how long it was, 10, 15 yards to win the game. It's just a matter of time before a guy like that just breaks free, hits the hole, and, gets a big gainer because, they held him in check. But, that's why a lot of those running backs get held in check because the defense really makes that their goal. But then you take one play off and give him a crease, and he's into the second level, breaks a couple tackles, and it's just like that. It's a big gain, and that's Derrick Henry for you in a nutshell. And Mike Vrabel sticks to it, and kudos to him because he knows that that's what that team is. He knows they're not going to be a team where Tannehill's just going to drop back and pick teams apart, even though he is a pretty good quarterback. But, kudos to both those teams for, sticking with their identity. And it was a great football game. You saw plays being made. I love to see, the big plays from Lamar Jackson passing the ball, too. He's obviously a capable runner. And, both good receivers. Mark Andrews is an outstanding pass-catching tight end. He's become one of my favorite players to watch, too, in the National Football League. So I just wanted to touch on that, because it's such important to really establish an identity. You talk about so many football teams struggling, whether it's college or in the NFL, who don't really have an identity, don't really know who they are or really what they're doing out there. But the Titans and Ravens have that, and that's something that stood out to me. So as I watch Tua, I have some concerns. What's sad about Tua is he's not really the typical present day quarterback. You see the NFL is really evolving, and it's still evolving today. The mobile quarterback is definitely in now, and Tua he really just never was a super mobile quarterback, even at Alabama. And I think especially now after the hip injury, still not a super mobile guy. He has some decent pocket presence. He's able to move around in the pocket, but like I've said, if you can't really run, if you don't really have the option to take off and run or kind of roll out, then you're really just stuck with trying to dink and dunk and just pick the defense apart, which is something Tua got away with in college because he's got an exceptional quick release and is so accurate in the mid-range. But defenses aren't dumb. They know he actually doesn't have the strongest deep ball. So they're kind of just going to compact everything in, press the corners, and it's something that kind of happens. We'll give them some of those short check downs all day, and it'll lead to more third downs, and that's kind of what you saw happen. He still could make some good throws. The one touchdown to Devontae Parker was a great, back shoulder throw. Still makes some good throws and still very accurate. Will complete it at a high rip, but the big plays just weren't there, and that's kind of how that game went down. And eventually, they put Ryan Fitzpatrick in and lost. So that's my concern moving forward. But like I said, when it was the draft time, I think Tua could be a good quarterback. I don't see him ended up being like an elite Hall of Fame type quarterback. But maybe I could be wrong. It's still early in his career, but Tua's. I think his ceiling is limited with his arm strength and and his mobility. So, but that's the thing. A lot of NFL GMs and owners get frustrated with Alabama players because Nick Saban does such a good job with player development. Their talent is really maxed out by the time they leave Alabama. So it really shows why a lot of guys, a lot of guys from Alabama will get drafted first or second round, and they'll be, okay, solid starters in the NFL. Drake Kirkpatrick is a perfect example of that. He was a guy that was an All-American at Bama, pretty good shutdown corner there. Gets to the NFL and has just really just been okay in the NFL. He was a solid, okay starter for the Cincinnati Bengals for a long time, and that's one example. But there's many guys that. Maybe they'll become, solid starters, rotational guys, but talent's really maxed out, and I've seen that with Tua. He, got away with a good offensive line and very elite receivers. I mean, they had 4 guys that'll likely get drafted first round from that receiving corps. And, you saw the Saints game, Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill really is, truly a running quarterback, and they played him over Jameis Winston. Winston's more of your pocket passer quarterback that doesn't have a lot of mobility, similar to to Tua and Breeze and Tom Brady. But Tom Brady more of the exception now today, even though he's even though Tom Brady's been struggling a little bit the last 2 weeks, though. But yeah, it's that was a surprise to me because I thought Winston should be the guy, but Taysom Hill comes in and does some great things. He definitely is not a guy that's going to pick you apart, but he has the capability to run and not only just run, but run physically. A tough running back, almost like a fullback, tight end, and led the Saints to a 24-9 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. So great job for Hill coming in and getting the Saints a win, and yeah. So Pittsburgh keeps rolling 10-0 now. Had a big win over the Jacksonville Jaguars, the team that's just really reeling right now. But this is kind of like almost like your trap game, if you will, because when a team's rolling like this, an undefeated, it's almost like a matter of time before they have kind of just one off week. Really, you see that happen a lot, even with teams that win the national title in college football. There's usually just one down week, but Pittsburgh came out prepared and got the big victory over Jacksonville. Moves to 10-0 on the season. This is just a team that plays, like I said, good team football. They have several guys at wide receiver, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, that are making plays, and just a physical, tough defense that something that Pittsburgh's prided themselves on for back in the day, but wasn't really the case a couple years ago. They really didn't have. They weren't really like a great coverage team and struggled to, rush the passer. But, TJ Watt and Minka, you get leaders like that on your defense. And it really just shows that they have some good depth, too, when you get a guy like Devin Bush hurt in a good organization and a good franchise that has built some depth and has kept talent. You go trade for Avery Williamson, and you have depth, and you have next man up mentality, and that guy just fills in nicely. With not a lot of drop off. Bad teams, when you see they get a couple guys hurt, it really just destroys their season and really becomes detrimental to the team moving forward. But So I want to get into this. This is one of my favorite times of the year is when you start talking mock drafts. So I just love getting into the NFL mock drafts. I love the NFL draft in general because, college football and NFL football comes together. It's one of the best times of the year. You start talking about, because this is a time where you really start seeing the draft order start to come into place. I know it's not 100% accurate, but the top 5, top to 10 is pretty close because, these 10 teams will likely be, a lot of them will likely be still somewhat at the top 10 when it's all said and done here in another 5-6 weeks. But, yeah, so I want to start with going through my top 10. At number 1, Trevor Lawrence to the New York Jets. Look, here's the thing. You could go Fields, Lawrence in this spot, but Trevor Lawrence, I'm not going to overthink it. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft, and he's been doing it now for 3 years, and really this is not one to think you overthink. He's been number 1 on so many lists that I think you just go with the consensus. And look, I mean, you still have Sam Darnold there if you're the Jets, but I think it's time to, try something else. And, you got a couple first-round picks here if you're the Jets. So go Trevor Lawrence. Sam Darnold hasn't been bad, but certainly has been part of the problem, to be honest. And so Trevor Lawrence here, outstanding quarterback from Clemson. And that at number 2, the Jags I have him taking Justin Fields. Justin Fields has been on an absolute tear for Ohio State this year. Looks hungry to win a Heisman and compete for a national championship. Look, Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew's not getting it done, and they definitely need a quarterback. So Justin Fields, next best available guy, and it's nowhere near a consolation prize, as Fields will likely come in and will do a lot of great things for Jacksonville, I think. And I think he'll be a great NFL quarterback. He's got a strong arm, is a mobile guy. So Justin Fields a pick here at number 2. Number 3, Washington goes Penei Sewell. The Washington Redskins need some help at offensive line, and you've seen that for the past couple years. And protecting the quarterback, whoever it is next year for the Redskins, is going to be crucial. So if it is Alex Smith, Penei Sewell will get the best lineman in the draft and will help them in pass protection. At number 4, the Cowboys. Cowboys need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. And, Micah Parsons was a talented guy that's available here. But Gregory Rousseau opted out this year. I would have loved to see this guy play this year, but the bottom line, double-digit sacks for Miami as a sophomore. And the Cowboys get them a potential elite pass rusher in Gregory Rousseau at number 4. At number 5, you have the Chargers taking Micah Parsons. The Chargers have an okay linebacking core. Kenneth Murray's been solid this year, but getting a stud like Micah Parsons will just add to the speed and athleticism of this defense. And you combine Parsons with Murray, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with Melvin Ingram, but Joey Bosa and Derwin James healthy, and that is some serious sideline-to-sideline speed on this team and defense. And, look, the offense has been pretty solid. Justin Herbert has stepped in. They've lost some games they shouldn't because of blown leads, but Parsons the pick to add some athleticism to the already athletic defense, especially if Derwin James returns next year. At number 6, you got Tua reuniting with his old teammate in Jalen Waddle. Having a weapon like this for Tua is huge, especially a guy you can swing the ball to with 4.2 speed and make explosive plays. So Jalen Waddle, the pick, Tua's former teammate in a speedster, potential big playmaker that Tua could use to go along with, Devontae Parker and Gesicki at tight end and some good weapons they already have. At number 7, Cincinnati, Christian Darsaw. Look, Joe Burrow, the nasty injury, unfortunately, he needs protection. Darsaw from Virginia Tech has been a great offensive tackle, so let's get him some help. Jonah Williams healthy this year at the other tackle, at left tackle. So whether you want to play Darsaw, right tackle, left tackle, if you can just secure the outside at the tackle position, obviously that'll give Joe Burrow more time in the pocket, hopefully when he returns next year. At number 8, the New York Giants, Patrick Surtain. Look, he's the best corner in this draft. He's got the size, athleticism, man-to-man coverage. And the Giants is a team that just needs help on the defensive side of the ball. So, why not go corner here? And they dumped a lot of money into Bradbury. But as you see in the NFL, you can never have enough corners. You got to be able to cover in the NFL. So why not take Patrick Surtain, the best corner in the draft, for a defense that needs a lot of help. Number 9, Carolina, taking Trey Lance from North Dakota State, the quarterback. Lance played just one game this year, but last year, no interceptions. He's got a good arm and is a pretty accurate passer, pretty big, strong, physical guy. And Carolina needs a quarterback. I don't think they're going to move forward with Bridgewater next year. So here at number 10, they have Atlanta taking Joseph Asai, the linebacker from Texas, or the outside linebacker DN from Texas. Atlanta needs help rushing the passer, and Joseph Asai is a very talented, athletic guy. So have him taking Asai here at number 10. So yeah, that's my top 10 NFL draft. Can't wait for the draft. I might do another episode going further in depth on that. So just let me know in the comments if you guys want to see that. But turn over to some college football now. It looks like Ohio State's really going to run away with the Big Ten now. And this team is just, Indiana put up a good effort, but they're just not on the same level as Ohio State. Great job and kudos to Tom Allen for really turning Indiana around and getting them to win some of these big games. You see that was the problem in recent years, but it was good that they competed somewhat with Ohio State. But this is just one of those games where it was, if Ohio State they didn't play their best, but if they played a good game, played close to their potential, they would get it done. And that's the case here. 42-35 win in a game that wasn't really that close. Indiana kind of crept back in. Ohio State led big. I think it was 21 points at one point. So, but excuse me, I'll be right back. Just had to get some water real quick. And, close to home, Michigan struggled with Rutgers, unfortunately, which is kind of ridiculous that they were celebrating a 3 overtime win against Rutgers. But, bottom line, I'm ready to move on from Jim Harbaugh. He's just not getting it done. Year 6 now, we're celebrating wins over Rutgers is really what it's come to, 2-3 on the year for the Michigan Wolverines. And, Ohio State looming, which could get ugly. So, yeah, ready to move on from Harbaugh. And what I don't get is why they hadn't played McNamara more this season, especially with Milton struggling. So that's something that made no sense to me. But, yeah, I'm not going to harp on Michigan too much. Just, wanted to touch on that because I know we got a lot of Michigan fans who follow the channel. But, yeah, so that's disappointing there. And, yep. Next week they face Penn State, who's 0-5. Penn State 0-5 is just shocking to me. I know Parsons opted out. Freiermuth done for the season. But, Penn State, this is still a program that's recruited very well. Right up there with, right up there in the top 2-3 recruiting in the Big Ten. Probably number 2 overall. If you put together the last 4 years together, I think it's Ohio State, Penn State number 2, Michigan number 3. When you look at total recruiting rankings, if you put it all together for the last 3 to 4 recruiting cycles, depending on which one you look at. But yeah, shocking. Even with a few key players out, and there's still no excuse for Penn State to be 0-5. I know they had some tough breaks. Early on, looking back at it, playing Indiana, Ohio State's not really it's a pretty tough place to start in the Indiana game. They kind of got screwed, and it's one of those losses that can just take a lot of life out of you. But you really got to bounce back and show some heart and toughness. And start winning some games here. I know James Franklin is that team is desperate to win a game, but you can't press. You got to kind of relax and just go back to figure out what you did well and what you didn't do well the past few games. Just try to build off what you did well and just relax and just play loose, because you don't really have a lot to lose now at 0-5. But yeah. So let's go back to the NFL. Justin Herbert, another big game. I know it was against the New York Jets, but this guy just continues to impress me. And kudos to Justin Herbert. A lot of analysts have really admitted they were wrong about Herbert, and it's good to see that people. It's okay to be wrong. It's something I wish people would kind of accept. It's kind of fun to, when you make predictions, you go back, wow, I was way off on that. And my first guess was I liked Herbert, and then I changed my mind on Herbert, so I can't take too much credit for him after changing my mind. But yeah. And Andy Dalton guides the Cowboys with a nice win over the Vikings, and it's kind of just shows who Andy Dalton is. Sometimes he plays really poorly, and sometimes he comes out and has a game that shocks you, but then he kind of comes back down to earth, likely next week or so. So, Andy Dalton is he's kind of a guy that'll get you excited, but it's he really is who he is. He'll likely come back down to earth. But thanks for tuning in to this episode, guys, of Big Time Football Talk. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes from the show. Till next time, peace.